ED, but when a cardiologist hears ED, that's early death.
Erectile dysfunction is sort of the bad boy on the block because nobody wants to talk about it. But in general, statistics are pretty earth-shattering, right? Roughly 40% of men at age 40, 50 at 50, 60 at 60, and then by the time we're 100, we're all in trouble.
The problem is, when a person develops ED, that's the first sign that there's some problem in the blood vessels.
The pathophysiology is the same as coronary artery disease, the obstruction of the arteries to the penis by plaques that develop in there. They're much smaller arteries going to the penis than to your heart, and that's why we typically see those symptoms develop first.
Most people don't realize that cardiovascular disease is a systemic disease process. That means if you have a heart attack, you're at risk for ED and peripheral arterial disease and stroke and dementia. And so in short, people need to realize that when they have a stent and they fix one little area, it does not cure the problem. It simply solves one little spot. And so ED is no different.
It's kind of a warning signal that, well, that's not working well. And if that's not working well, we know you're not getting the oxygen supply to your brain and to your heart.
Where cardiovascular disease has its inception is when we progressively destroy the capacity of our life jacket and our guardian, which is the innermost layer of the artery, the endothelium.
The damage to the endothelium begins when an excess LDL cholesterol is absorbed into the artery walls. The resulting inflammatory response triggers immune cells called macrophages. They enter the vessel wall and begin to gobble up the excess cholesterol, creating these foam cells. Now these large cholesterol-laden foam cells accumulate, resulting in plaque buildup from the inside out, causing a pimple-like area to bulge into our artery passageways. Over time, the covering of these pimples can rupture, triggering a blood clot that can block normal blood flow to an area, resulting in a heart attack or a stroke.
Back in 1900, we consumed about 4 pounds of oil per person per year. Currently, 74 pounds. So we have added a tremendous amount of oil to our lives.
All oil is 120 calories a tablespoon, and most Americans consuming between 250 and 700 calories of oil a day.
You're taking the oil, removing it from the original item, whether it be an olive, whether it be a soybean, whether it be coconut, and you're isolating that oil out. When you isolate that oil, you have 100% fat.
Fats and oils are a major contributor to blocked heart arteries, high blood pressure, high cholesterol, heart attacks, heart failure.
Oil injures endothelial cells. Olive oil, corn oil, soybean oil, safflower, sunflower, coconut oil, palm oil, oil in a cracker, oil in bread, oil in a salad dressing.
So I have a number of people, even on a plant-based diet, that will come in and say, Dr. Stoll, I'm eating really well, but I'm still gaining weight. And my first question to them is, well, how much olive oil, coconut oil, etc. are you using in your diet? When they start to add it up, sometimes they're adding 5, 6 tablespoons a day. So here we are, 600, 700 calories they're adding to their diets, and they don't realize it because they're adding in oils that they assume are healthy.
There aren't some special oils you can buy that are health promoting. They're all processed foods with almost no levels of micronutrients and phytochemicals in them, with no fiber.
Coconut oil is 90% saturated fat. Lard is 43% saturated fat.
The coconut oil miracle is that it's still on the market.
And so when we just hear little clips on the news, maybe on the internet, says olive oil's the way to go, we grab onto that. And unfortunately, it's bad information.
Here I am, I'm just out of recovery from the heart catheter. And he looks at me, he says, I think I'd like you to meet Dr. Caldwell Esselstyn. He was my mentor at medical school. Sure enough, the next morning he gave me a call. He said, I want you to read this book, Prevent and Reverse Heart Disease, and call me back.
There's hard science out there that you can halt and reverse this disease with nutrition. There's a common feeling that, patients won't do that. Well, nothing is further from the truth.
I read it within a few days. I called him back and I said, I'm in. I'll do whatever you want me to do.
When folks are willing to change their 50, 60, 70-year-olds worth of habits, it's amazing watching cure it for the first time in my career.
I really believe that diet is the primary way that we need to change things.
I've been now plant-based for almost 3 years. What it's done is, at that time, my cholesterol was 310. Today it's at 143. Plant-based nutrition has allowed me to have more energy than I've ever felt in my life.
The body is a natural self-healing machine, and disease is unnatural, avoidable, and in most cases reversible with superior nutrition.